going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Winners Circle. It's your host here, Cody, coming back for another recap of week 4 in Big Brother. Before I jump into the episode, I have to tell you, not enough people are subscribed to the channel on YouTube. We're talking on YouTube. Okay, so we are very close to getting to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. I have a lot of viewers coming on here that are not subscribed to the channel. I can see all the analytics. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. But, you know, we're almost at 50,000 subscribers, and I think that would be a really cool milestone. If you are listening on audio, make sure you drop a 5-star review or a 1-star, honestly, like if you think this stinks. But, you know, appreciate a 5-star review. Anyway, let's get into it this week, people. We had a wild week of Big Brother. It was a little chaotic at the start. There were a lot of tears flowing around with this cast of Big Brother. Everybody's like crying. By everybody, I mean just like the guys are crying a lot. I see Riley bawling. I see like Vinnie bawling his eyes out. I'm just like, come on, man. Just stop with your crying. Enough. Anyway, this week was kind of wild. This was a really wild week, especially for Riley. A little bit of a back and forth. Micky ends up being the HOH, and we'll get into that. Did not think it was a great HOH week for Micky at all. Spoiler alert. If you do not want to hear who went home, click off and come back when you finally watch the episode. But, you know, sending Jimmy home, I didn't think was a great play for Micky. You don't want to send people home that are never going to come after you, and that's literally what Micky did this week. But let's before we get to the end, let's rewind. Take a step back with me for a moment to Riley winning the HOH competition. Did an incredible job. Also, let's talk about that HOH competition with Rachel just jumping onto Keanu. Like, if I was Keanu and that was happening to me, I would have stood there and been like, I'm not competing in this competition if she's on my team. And like, he didn't want to be with her. Now, I would compete with Rachel. She obviously would be an ally of mine if we were playing. But Keanu and Rachel are not allies. Well, at this point in the game, they're not allies. And so I'd be like, no, I'm going with the people that I want to compete with, because you want people like Rachel, who would most likely put you on the block, not to win, which is crazy. I've been seeing some stuff on the feeds, you know, with the new winner of the HOH competition. I got some spoilers ahead of here. And I'm just hearing some interesting things. This also, we've got to talk about what's going on the feeds this week, because I was seeing some stuff that people were talking about. But anyway, Rachel's like hanging on to Keanu. Keanu was an absolute unit. Like, this competition, Keanu, if it was just go best time, beat the best time, Keanu would have beat everybody by a lot. It is extremely impressive how good he is at competitions. I got to be honest with you. Keanu is not doing anything that he's bothering me. And it's just unfortunate that he's the house target at this point. And I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for him. I want him to win. I want him to win these competitions. I want him to win the veto. Like, win a battle of the block. At what point are these people going to be like, all right, we're not just going to put Keanu on the block? But I mean, no matter what, he has an opportunity to win a competition, and he's just great. He's cool under pressure. The battle of the block, I think, is interesting. I think he may fall short in a battle of the block, but when you give him 2 chances where it's the veto and the battle of the block, I just don't know that he's going to be beatable. So he looked great in this competition, but, you know, Vinnie really messed up that HOH for him because he just couldn't stay on the balancing beams. He was talking about how athletic he was, and I don't know what that was, but ultimately we have Riley end up winning the HOH competition. He's fired up. Keanu was fired up with him, and I was pretty fired up when I saw it the next morning. I got up super early for work, and I was like, ooh, Riley won the HOH. This could be interesting. And, you know, it would have mixed the house up, I think. You know, he talks to Keanu, and Keanu spills the beans. And so what happens? Micky hears her name, which, you know, was said by Riley. Her name did come out of his mouth. And so Micky decides to use her power and gets the interrogation where Riley has to interrogate. And I'm just watching it. And right when I saw that Micky use that power, my first thought was Keanu is going to make Riley feel dead set on it being Ashley, and he's going to ruin this for him. And obviously there were things that they were showing in the episode where Riley just wasn't listening. The problem that I had with the interrogation is the second Riley found out about the power, he needed to really stay clear-minded. He needed to not get emotional, stay clear-minded, because I think it could have been fairly easy based off of all the conversations that people were sharing. Like, people were sharing a lot of information with him. Now, there was some misinformation. Like, Zach gave some misinformation when it came to who he thought, because I felt Zach should have known exactly who had that power, especially with the other powers that were at play, right? The other powers had already been played. So I thought Zach knew, because he bumped into Micky right when that power was won and she made noise and he heard that. So I'm pretty sure he knew exactly who had the power. So he was trying to deter Riley away from it being Micky, which I don't really know why, unless he felt like, he wanted to keep Morgan safe and he felt like Riley could have been a threat. But then again, he's also really just playing the middle. Zach has been going back and forth. So maybe he did want to just keep Micky safe. So that was happening. Keanu, I felt like, really got in Riley's head. And then Riley had a conversation with Ashley, which to me, watching that, was just like, Ashley was so uncomfortable to be in that position, because Riley looked like he was boiling and he was grilling her. And she just is like, I got to tell you, Ashley's a little more innocent than I thought she was. I thought, she has this lawyer background. I thought she was going to be a little more cutthroat, but she's a little more like innocent than I had anticipated her to be. I thought she was going to be much more cutthroat and a little more of a gamer. And don't get me wrong, she is a very intelligent person and she is a gamer, but I still feel like there's this innocence to her. And so she just didn't know how to really handle that conversation. And that was like Riley's nail in the coffin. Yep, it's definitely Ashley. And I think he ruined that, because a lot of the stuff, like Catherine was saying it, Vince was saying it, people were saying Micky's name, and then he gets Micky in the room. So it would be like, okay, most people are thinking Ashley or Micky. He gets Micky in the room and he doesn't stop talking. He's like convincing Micky that it's Ashley. And I was like, Riley, what are you doing, bud? So that was a big misstep on his part. I can appreciate that he went back to Micky after the blow up that they had and apologized, because that's good Big Brother play. And I think that was more about him as a person than it was Big Brother strategy. But sometimes if you're just a good person, it can help you in the game of Big Brother. And I think I saw that, because there were things that I was seeing on the feed where, Micky and Riley really have like squashed this. And I think it was really good on Riley's part. I don't know if he was doing it intentionally, but not making an enemy out of Micky and making her feel almost bad for the nominations being the way that they were. Ultimately, just taking it a step forward. Riley, Kelly, and Keanu were nominated. I think it was really good that Riley ended up apologizing and taking accountability. And Micky, we saw her in the episode say something along those lines that she appreciated it. Because if Riley went about it and just wouldn't talk to Micky, pretty much was saying that she was going to be a target and went that route, we could have seen something different in the renoms, which, to be honest, I felt probably at the start of the week was the best move that could have happened. So let's jump into the veto competition. Keanu wins the veto competition. He's just calm, cool, and collective. I was going through that competition as it was happening, and I was like, I would love to play that comp. I would love to play that comp to see how I would do. I think I would absolutely smoke it. I just think I would smoke it. So that's a competition I would love to do if I get a chance to. I mean, not saying that I would get a chance, because I'm not going back on Big Brother. Hate to break it to you all, but if that competition was like somewhere, I'd be like, I want to do it. And I think I could get a pretty fast time. Not to sound arrogant, but it's true. I think I could. Anyway, Keanu wins it. Rachel just skipped she won the first round, skipped right to the final, and then Keanu had to beat 3 people. He did. Shocker. Keanu can't stop winning these competitions. It's absolutely insane. And then we had that moment between Keanu and Ava, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it showed an insecurity on Ava's part, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but Keanu won the competition. You could tell it was boiling his blood that everybody was rooting against him. It was just known. And that, like what I will say is like that feeling as somebody in there, like has to feel horrible. So when Keanu ends up winning the competition ultimately, nobody says a word. He's really frustrated. And what does he do? He is slick with Ava and says, don't you have a prompt? Now, just to give a little bit of insight into what goes on when the veto competition is won, the producers are in whoever the host's ear. And it's not like, that person, they have to wait for Big Brother to talk to them. Everybody has to get lined up. Keanu has to come to a spot. There's all this stuff that's happening that's like production that you're not seeing as part of the show. And so that's why I feel like Ava was thrown off, because he was like, don't you have a prompt? And like, she's probably sitting there like with them in her ear, waiting for them to say something, for her to be like, congratulations, Keanu, you won the Golden Power veto. Now, sometimes it happens differently because somebody wins the veto and like whoever the host is maybe cheers, but like it was dead silent. So Keanu had this like pent up anger because nobody was cheering for him. And so he says that to Ava. What I thought was really interesting was Ava turned to him and goes, you think just because I dress like this, you can talk to me like that? And I was like, who brought up how you dress? It just seemed like more of an insecurity thing for me. And I was like, what is that about, Ava? Why would you bring up what you dress like? And why would you think that because of what he just went through with nobody cheering, nobody saying a word, including most likely yourself, when he won, everybody's jaws were on the floor. You could hear a pin drop and he had to walk over. Like, what makes you think in his mind he said that line to you due to the way you dress? So that was pretty, that was pretty interesting. Like I remember like when I was watching it and she said that line, I like gave one of these, like the double take. I was like, what? Where does that come from? Other than an insecurity, which, power to her. Who cares that she dresses like that? You obviously dress like that because you like it. So like, I don't know. It was weird. It was definitely weird, but I wanted to talk about it. So Keanu wins the veto and takes himself off the block. And now we're seeing who's going to be the replacement. I have to call this out because it's been sent to me. I've seen it on X, and I'm so interested in hearing what all of you have to say in regards to the edit of Wednesday that occurred after the veto competition. Because from what I've been reading is the Big Brother, the live show, sliced it, diced it, moved timing and moved stuff around and made it seem like, they're giving Vinnie this strategic edit. Now, I don't think they're giving Vince like this mastermind edit on the season, but Vince really is in with a lot of people. He's having a lot of conversations. He's very well, like everything that he does is very well thought out, and they probably feel that in the diary room. And so they use him to narrate things. Now, is he getting this mastermind edit? No, I think in the beginning they were giving Rachel the mastermind edit. And then all of a sudden it started to turn into like the stuff that Rachel wanted to happen wasn't occurring, right? Like we saw Rachel's friend go home early, Amy. I think that's her name, Amy. And then we saw, Rachel really wanted Vince on the block, and it just, these things aren't happening. So they can't just continue to have Rachel have the conversation. Like, Rachel's trying to do these things. And so they give her the diary room, but it's like Vince is also trying to do other things. Now I do have like, it is confusing to me why they portrayed it that way instead of just telling it chronologically the right way. Is it to give Vinnie this type of edit? It's like, I don't know. That would be so interesting. If I was a producer, it's like, it's just play it out. Like Micky kind of came to this because of she didn't like how Jimmy was playing the game. And I will say for me, this stems back to when Jimmy won HOH, because when Jimmy won HOH, Micky to me seems like somebody where, and it happened with Morgan, Micky needs to feel like she is always in your good graces. Micky, if you are working with Micky, you better always check in on Micky. You better always be talking to Micky. You make sure that she doesn't feel like you're having conversations with other people that you're not talking to her about, because this happened with Jimmy in week 2 when he was the HOH, and it really stemmed from her being pissed because her and Morgan weren't being included in conversations and Jimmy was just doing what he wanted to do. Then Morgan was getting a little too close to Zach and Vince, and Micky wasn't included, and then was coming in late to that foursome, to that group of four to be an alliance. And Micky goes and tells Adrian that she thinks that they're in a final three. So it's like Micky, to me, as a viewer, well, as a game player, just watching how I'm seeing Micky play this game, she can't feel like she can't feel like she's not your number one. If you're supposed to be working with her and you're supposed to be, Jimmy, her, and Morgan are in a final three. We're supposed to be tight. We should be having conversations together. Morgan, we're supposed to be a final two. You shouldn't be having a group of three over there. That's where Micky is making her decisions, right? So this all started with Jimmy in week 2, when Jimmy didn't bring the decisions that he was making as the HOH and include her and Morgan, but I'll say her more specifically because I feel like if Jimmy would have had a conversation with Micky, I don't think she would have been bothered. So it's been like snowballing, and then you're watching Jimmy go and have conversations with everybody else, play in the middle, playing all sides, which is, I always say it, it's a dangerous game to play. If you're playing Big Brother and it's noticeable that you're playing all sides, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And also, I've said this multiple times, where if you ever in this game of Big Brother feel like you're safe, you're not safe. And that's what happened to Jimmy this week. So then a conversation happens with Micky and Keanu, a conversation happens with Micky and Vince, and ultimately Micky decides to put Jimmy on the block. Like, let me know in the comments how much that changes really just like the storyline. Now, like, I know people were up in arms because the edit was so bad because they're giving Vince this like strategic edit, but it's like, this is like, Micky was putting Jimmy on the block. She came to it herself. We saw that in the live show where she vocalized why she did it. So I'm like, what are we up in arms about? Like, why is it that frustrating? And I think this is where it comes into play, where when you watch the feeds, you take it more personal if the show is edited a certain type of way. But like, what did we miss there? And that's what I have to ask anybody in the comments, is like, let me know what we missed. Not whether you like that they gave Vince the edit or not, because I didn't think they gave him this like insane edit. Like, they showed Vinnie knowing there's a good chance he goes on the block. They showed conversations, that he had. So it's like, I guess they changed and they showed it in like different times, which they've done that in, I hate to break it to you, they've done that in Big Brother for forever, for years. So I'm just like, I don't know, like, what are we up in arms about, right? Like, the story still played out. Jimmy goes on the block. And so I'm just confused what people were really that frustrated with. Like, it's a show. It's a show. We're watching a show, and we're watching the live show for the storyline. And if you were dialing into the live feeds, like, who do you feel didn't get credit that should get credit? Because to be honest, I thought it was a really poor move to put Jimmy on the block for Micky. And reason being, so the veto happens, Keanu uses it, Micky ultimately puts Jimmy on the block. The reason why I don't love this move for Micky is because she said to him over and over that it was not personal, it's game, and she doesn't like the game that he's playing, which I can understand where she's coming from in that aspect, that she thinks he's playing a sloppy game. But it also felt like, I know she said it wasn't personal, but there's like a personal component that I feel is tied to it, because it's like, well, you're going and you're talking to everybody else. And it's like, is he not talking to you enough? Because you don't want to put somebody on the block and send them home that would literally never put you on the block, especially this early in the game. Maybe later in the game, I can absolutely see that, where it's like, listen, Morgan's my number one, which you already kind of betrayed her slightly by sharing information that could have actually really harmed her game. But it's like, Jimmy was never going to come after you. And whether he's playing, he's still got to play the game of Big Brother. Like, and him playing the way that he was playing, it almost could be beneficial, because then it's like, maybe he could have influence on the other side of the house if somebody wins an HOH and he can get in their ear to help maybe save you at some point. So to remove Jimmy from this game would not be good for Micky, in my opinion. You see, I had to change the verbiage there because we're not giving any spoilers away till the end. So I didn't love it. I got to be honest with you. I know that she had that conversation with Riley, and so she probably didn't want to put Catherine on the block. She was in a really, really difficult position. Like, I'll tell you right now, she was in a really difficult position. At the end of the day, she had the issue with Riley. She puts him on the block, and she had the issue with Riley. She puts him out. You know, I think to put him up. You don't really want to nominate other people, so that's why you put him on the block. Like, you're feeding him BS when you ultimately did that. But now at this point with Keanu coming down, like, you want people on the block that are gonna, one, go home that you nominated, as little blood on your hands as possible. And two, like, you don't want to lose an ally. So I thought nominating Jimmy was just a massive ally to lose. So, like, for me, if I'm Micky, it's like, okay, I wanted Keanu. I don't care if Kelly goes home or not. So, like, her target should have shifted from Keanu to Kelly. And so I don't know why she would put Jimmy on the block. Like, put somebody else on the block who you don't care whether they go home or not. Like, there's got to be somebody else in the pecking order that's low to you. Throw them on the block. Riley wins the battle of the block, which you don't know how it's going to play out, and then you could send Kelly home. Or whoever that third person is, maybe they win the battle of the block, and you could send Kelly home. So you can you can build that relationship back with Riley. It felt so short-sighted on Micky's part to put Jimmy on the block, and really not just put him on the block, but like put him on the block to target him and want to send him home. I thought it was very short-sighted. But listen, it could work out for Micky. The reason why I still don't think, I don't love the move that Micky did, but I don't think it's going to be something that like really harms her game, but it could in a few weeks, right? It could in a few weeks when maybe there was a situation where Jimmy could have helped you. But we're seeing a little bit of fracturing between Micky and Ashley. Like, Micky, I was seeing stuff on the feeds where she was really getting frustrated with Ashley, because Ashley was trying to keep Jimmy in the house. So there was that. I saw another thing where Micky was really annoyed by Kelly, like didn't want her to have a birthday celebration, which I thought was really odd and pretty rude. So I think Micky was just having like an HOH that was just a little all over the place. So I don't know that it's necessarily going to hurt her, because I think she does have good relationships in the house, but I certainly don't feel like sending someone like Jimmy home was the best thing that you could do, which let's just, I mean, I keep talking about it, I keep saying it. So it ends up happening where Blockbuster is Riley, Kelly, Jimmy, and Riley wins it, does a really good job. And the final two on the block are Kelly and Jimmy. Jimmy ends up going home on a 9-2 vote, where Ashley just kind of showed that she was a little lost, like, and Rachel too. Like, I don't know. Did Rachel think she had the votes? Like, am I missing something? They didn't really show a lot of stuff. I guess like the live shows arc of it was Rachel having a conversation Jimmy having a conversation with Vinnie, saying that would really go a long way if he votes to keep him for Rachel, not targeting Vinnie. And it could really go a long way. So I'm just like, was that the only storyline that we saw that was ultimately getting us to the point of, okay, it's not going to be unanimous towards Jimmy? Or is it like, did Rachel just miss something? Like, please, somebody fill in the gaps, because I don't know if it's just that there's not a lot of stuff going on there's not a lot of stuff going on this season, or there's not a lot of like gamers there that are really having a lot of strategic conversations, but it just feels like there's stuff missing. I'm just watching it and I'm like, all right, like here we go. Jimmy's fighting the good fight, trying to keep himself safe, but like it doesn't seem like he stands a chance. And then boom, we're at the blockbuster competition. So that's how I felt about last night's episode. It just was like conversations that just feel like a little empty. I don't know. This season is really interesting for me. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm kind of like up in the air. Like it's early on, I was really excited because I think, the new season of Big Brother's coming out. And then I feel like I've hit like a week 4 lull. I'm just like, all right, Jimmy went home. I don't feel like it was a great move for Micky, but I do know who won the next HOH competition. So we'll talk about that at the end. But there were a couple comments. I want to do the comment section that I saw, and this was early on. So listen, this was early when the episode was released. So if you want to catch my eye on these comments before there's like 500 comments, fire it away early. Fire it away early because I have 3 here that I'm going to read through. First one from Carla Elaine 100. You're doing a great job both independently and together. I think I may have set the bar too high watching Cody, Derek, Paul on other BBs. Lately, the seasons seem like too many contestants don't have a basic knowledge of how the game should be played. The new Unlocked show and Cody may help educate new players who seriously want to win. You're both amazing. Okay, so that was a really nice comment by Carla, but it was super interesting to me that somebody is viewing it that way, because I do feel like there's people that have a knowledge of it. But listen, Big Brother is a really difficult game. And what I will say is you can watch and have knowledge of Big Brother, and that's not going to necessarily make you a good Big Brother player. So although I can understand where you're coming from there, Carla, I have to slightly disagree with you because, I mean, we've seen super fans like Frenchie come in, understand the game, doesn't miss anything, watches live feeds, and just destroy his game in Big Brother and end up going home super early. So I don't necessarily think it needs to be people that are fans or have a understanding of the game, because Paul Abrahamian had no idea what Big Brother was. He was clearly a recruit, and man, did he just get a grasp of how that game should work. He understood the social component to it and just was an absolute force. So I don't necessarily agree. I think that we just need, I don't know. I think what we need are people that are unafraid to rock the boat. I think the problem is that everybody is really afraid to rock the boat these days. And so we just get this kind of timid gameplay. Everybody wants to be liked. I think that people come on TV for a different reason now. And so, it's more so known now that you could go on TV and something could come of it, right? And so I think we live in a little bit of that era, which makes casting, I think, really, really difficult. And I said this on multiple shows. I just was watching, obviously I watch Love Island. You guys all know that I love Love Island. And I thought the biggest issue on Love Island was that people clearly just were going on the show to hopefully get what the previous season had gotten. And so I think that sometimes happens, and it really allows people like, Chelsea of last season, who really does have a grasp on the game and is a beast, to come in and just do really, really well. So if you are really looking to win Big Brother, I would definitely recommend watching this podcast. I would recommend watching the episode this episode will be coming out on Saturday. So the BB Unlocked, hearing Derek, how he talks, and hearing Taylor, those are people that have won. I think it's really important when you can hear from people that have won the game, and it can really give you a leg up on how to go into this house and how to navigate, because there's just a way to navigate this house. And I don't necessarily think that people need to have a great grasp on the game to understand how to navigate a social experiment, because although it is a game show, it's a social experiment, at its core. So really great, Carla. Really great, thought-provoking. I loved it. That's why I screenshotted it. Then we have Darlene JB. Okay, I hope I pronounced that right. Darlene JB from YouTube says, welcome back, Derek. Love the energy of you two. Jordan on her podcast gave me an interesting take. Everyone is talking about taking the comp beast out first, but she said, no, you keep them. Get rid of the smart people. They are the ones planning and keeping track of the days, etc. So later they can take it. Great take. I don't know who you were referring to when you said Jordan, but that is a phenomenal take, whoever Jordan said that on their podcast. And I don't know if you're referring to Jeff and Jordan, but that's an incredible take when it comes to finding the strategic players. Find who is going to be strategic. I have said this ad nauseum, where everybody looks at somebody that is like a physical stature and is like, ooh, comp beast. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There are very few competitions where your just like physical stature is going to really help you. You know what? I don't necessarily, actually, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking back to the competitions this season. Like, yes, there's like the question ones where you have to have focus, but like that laser competition where you're having to avoid the laser, that's pretty physical. The beam that we just saw for the HOH competition, that was pretty physical, but I would say like 25%. 25% is physical. I think that's a fair assessment. Is like, you really need to be maybe having like an athletic physical stature is going to be beneficial, but like I wouldn't even call that for the wall competition. I think being like wiry is a little bit better and being more resilient. But yeah, I think that was a really interesting take, because when you are in this game, you want the people that you want to try to find who is super strategic, because there may be people that are absolute forces in competitions and you have no idea because they're throwing them and not trying to win. So it's like, I don't know. I think that's a really good take, and I totally agree with it. Really good take, and I totally agree with it. You need to find the strategic people that are the ones that are moving chess pieces, and those are going to be the ones that you want to target, which I will say this season, I don't think anybody's doing a really great job of being like behind the scenes, like moving chess pieces around. I think they all have like thoughts in their head about who's making the moves, but too many people are talking about who, I mean, the show at least is giving the edit to, like, people saying that Vince is getting this mastermind edit. Like, everybody in the house is talking about Vince, like, pulling the strings, and it's the 4th week. So Vince either needs to get rid of those people, which is what I always say. Like, I remember Bailey said something to me on All Stars and was like, I feel like she said something along the lines of like, I'm making the moves. And I was like, ooh, that's really bad. Like, she should not be saying that. And like, it was like at a point where I was like, I know I'm really tight with Bailey and I trusted her completely, but I was like, if she went home, it wouldn't be horrible, because like the more people she talks to saying that, like the worse it could be for me. Last YouTube comment, Brad Cottrell, 1063. Okay, Brad says, I wonder if Rachel truly believes she can't win a comp, or if her crying that she lost it is to downplay her threat level. Great episode. And they put the pizza in the comment, which lets me know that they were there at the end of the episode. So no, I think that Rachel is just very competitive. I don't think she's trying to downplay anything at all. I think she's very, very competitive, and Rachel's used to winning competitions. And so when Rachel is struggling to win competitions, when Rachel is struggling to have a grasp on the decisions that are being made in the house and who's going up and all this stuff like that and who's staying in the house, I think like she's getting more and more frustrated. And so I don't think it was to downplay anything. I just think it was her getting to that boiling point of like, I'm not winning HOH. I haven't won a veto yet. Like, I haven't won any competitions, and she wants to win competitions. Like, this may be the longest stretch early on that Rachel has gone without winning a competition. Like, season 12, I'm pretty sure she won early, and then I'm pretty sure on season 13 she was winning early. But that is that for the comment section. It's so interesting. Actually, now I'm going to go to I said I would do it. Listen, I'm going a little off the cuff here for this last piece, because I said I would do it, and I'm just going to go through and read as many pizza names as possible for all of you that have stuck it out to the end of the episode. This may be the only time that I do this, because golly, there were a lot of pizzas that I was seeing. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, if you made it to the end of the episode now, you are here. And honestly, you're probably the same people that put the pizza, so you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe I should do this in the beginning, right? Get some other people to get we have 977 likes on this video. Should just get a little bit more. Who can go in there, guys? Send it to people and be like, go like the last video, but then also go like this one. So make sure you like this video. How am I getting to the comments? All right. Shout out to Prep with Ann, I think. That was interesting. Shout out to Edwin Lewis. Shout out to Brandon Beesh, 7786. Shout out to Brad, who I read that comment from. Shout out to Hannah Elizabeth, 2599. Shout out to Stephanie C, 311. Shout out to Chrissy Colors. Shout out to Cheyenne or Shayna or Sheena. Oh, Sheena. This is where the problem comes in. You guys are all going to see how illiterate I am and I can't read. I'm a moron. Sheena Thomas, 2354. Shout out to The Lucky Nurse. Shout out to Ariel McCory. Oh, Ariel McCory. Anyway. Shout out to Jess is a mess, 12. Shout out to Brittany Young. Shout out to 2Row691. Shout out to Sandra Club. Okay, shout out to Kelly Bichtold. Shout out to official PJ1772. Shout out to Morgan Sarna8396. Shout out to Kathy Miller. Shout out to Taylor Jewett. Shout out to Kiwi Love Kiwi. Shout out to May 20587. Shout out to Null Tech Class. Listen, I could do this all day. I cannot. The amount, another one. More pizza. The amount of you that left pizzas on the comments is like absolutely incredible. It's so humbling to know that many of you of 500 comments are going all the way to the end of the episode. Like, I just really appreciate that. That's absolutely incredible. I love you guys. I can't keep going through it. It'll just turn into this boring thing where it's like, people will just end up clicking off of it. Anyway, final thought. Derek and I did the hit list last week. We had Jimmy at the top. He had Jimmy at 5. I had Jimmy at 4. Jimmy goes home. I will say that's why you're high on the hit list. These are people that if you want to win the game, you should probably try to send home. Not if you're Micky, though, because Micky sending Jimmy home was not good. Like if I was the HOH and I was Micky, I wouldn't have sent Jimmy home. I would have hoped that somebody else did it. That's an episode of the Winners Circle. As always, thank you all for joining me, for stopping in. This episode is going to be dropping. If you're listening on audio, it's going to be Saturday. The video is going to drop Sunday afternoon. So that they're not like cannibalizing each other. And I think more people are on YouTube based on the analytics. More of this audience is on YouTube middle of the day on Sunday. So I'll be dropping this on Sunday, audio on Saturday. I love you guys. Thank you for stopping by on another episode of the Winners Circle. Obviously, if you're here at this point, thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. And make sure you like the video. Like the video, people. Like it. There was like 500 pizza comments. There's no way everybody scared the crap out of me. All right, I'm going to go take care of that dog. You go take care of your Saturday. Let's get after it. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me here, and I will see you next time.